Hello, hello. Yes, it's Sir David the Bard. I'm gonna do a video this morning that it's just for entertainment. Please, please, if you think it's any good at all or you've been entertained, go to my PayPal and put $1 in there, just so I know you're alive, you're well, and you have been entertained. I want to do a video on one of my family. Now, I've done in Sir David the Bard one or two snippets of my brother Randy. His name is John Randall Welson in the Philippines. Now, you know I don't lie. That's why you put money in my PayPal. That's why you feel you're sometimes entertained and it's worth looking at me. If you go on YouTube and you say, oh, well, I have a voice activated YouTube, key in John Randall Welson arrested in Philippines, you don't have to pay to see that shit, and you don't have to pay to see this shit. But anyway, if you YouTube that, you're going to see my brother, and there is a YouTube in there too that has my picture by my brother picture on the blog that's reported him arrested in the Philippines. I wish that my picture was never that close to my brother. And again, I've said before, I'm not sure he's my brother. The way he acts, I think he was adopted. Anyway, here's the long story long. My brother Randy, I guess, and I have been in competition. I didn't know we were in competition our whole life. But he has always felt that, I don't know if I've overwhelmed him or my parents loved me more. They should have loved me more because I was a better child and I turned out better. But anyway, Randy always was bipolar, just like I am. We inherited that from my child molester father. Anyway, I went to Brigham Young University and I graduated with a BS degree in social work. Well, when I was at BYU, Miriam, I told you I used to work for R.C. Miriam in Ojai, California, and they were the heirs to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, and I took care of Mr. Miriam as his male nurse. Well, I was probably a sophomore at BYU, and lo and behold, I got in the mail in 1971 a check for $5,000. I was only 19 years old. That's a lot of money in 1971 for a 19-year-old kid. And I thought, well, this is a good thing. So I was only 19. So I took most of the money. I paid some of my tuition at BYU with it, so the Mormon church got more money out of me. But anyway, I went and bought a 1969 Z28 Camaro with the big competition stripe on it, and it had a 4-speed Hurst stick shift transmission and a 302 Chevy engine. It was fast. It was damn fast. I love the car. It was maroon with a white competition stripe on it. Anyway, I get off on all this shit. Anyway, I got this money from Mr. Miriam, and my brother Randy worked for Mr. Miriam also, and lo and behold, he gets $5,000. So that was fair. I got it, he got it. Well, I spent mine. I I don't think it was a waste of money. It was a beautiful car, and I kept it for years and really enjoyed it. In those days, there was no speed limit between Utah and in Nevada. Once you got over the Utah border, going to California from BYU, Nevada had no speed limit. And I know you young people, you can't believe that, and I don't care. It's true. I used to take that Z28 and just hold it right at 110, 120 across Nevada, and it would roll. And an 11-hour trip would turn to like 6, 7-hour trip. So anyway, I love the car. Well, I was responsible. I put the money in the bank, and I spent it like a regular human being. I think a regular human being was. So my brother shows up, Randy shows up at BYU, and he had a convertible. Now that was the nicest car he ever had. It wasn't a fancy car, but it was a convertible. He had $4,000 in 20s, 50s, and 100s under the floor mat of the driver's side of the car. That was his bank. Now, maybe you're seeing a little difference between me and my brother. I don't know. I had a Z28, put the extra money in a real American bank. He put over $4,000 in small bills under his driver's side mat, rubber mat under the driver's side. So right there I was beginning to think he was a little different. Well, he proved that over a lifetime. I'm not happy about that because the rest of my story is going to not be humorous. It's going to be sad if you have any empathy for idiotic people. So, he went on a mission for the Mormon Church, and I told you many times, the Mormon Church net draws in a lot of crazy, mentally ill, different types of human beings that really don't belong in a church. They don't belong in society. Well, that net caught my brother, and the Mormon Church didn't know that he was so inclined for antics and stupidness. Well, they called him on a mission. I think his mission was in Missouri. I hate to say this, but most Mormon missionaries who go to English-speaking missions are not the brightest stars in the mission field, if you know what I mean. If you get called to Algeria or to Romania or whatever, you have to learn a new culture and a new language. Well, you have to have a little bit upstairs to do that. You can't be, I love the word, imbecile, a nincompoop. I love those old words. Anyway, the Mormon Church called him on a mission, and he went on a mission to Missouri. Now, when he came home from his mission, he came to visit me at BYU. I was still a student at BYU. And I remember, just like it was today, we were standing in front of the administration building, and I was kind of giving a little bit of a personal tour around the university. And I asked him a little bit about his mission, and he said, it was okay. And I said, well, did you have a car or did you have to ride a bike? Oh, I had a car. I said, okay. Tell me, kind of a little bit about your mission. He said, I didn't like all the rules and the regulations and the things we had to do. I would take the car a couple of times a month or more, and I would take some of my missionary companions and a few girls. Oh God, when the Mormon Church hears this, they're going to ask for his, well, they can't get it. I'll tell you why. They can't get anything from him. So anyway, he took a couple of his friends and the girls to the drive-in in Missouri on his mission. Well, that began to tell me he wasn't a real stickler for following the rules. So I said to him, right then and there in that little meeting, Randy, you could get admitted to BYU. They're very lenient on letting return missionaries come to the university. And I barely got in. I wasn't a returned missionary, and they let me in to their remorse, regret. And anyway, he said to me, well, why should I go to college? I now do drywall. I put up drywall in homes and apartments, and people pay me big money. I said, well, I don't know. It just seems like if you get an education, it might be good over a lifetime, and you'll know some more things, and you'll be able to understand some things. And so he said, well, I make so much extra money over an education, I'm not going to do it. And all right, that's your choice. You can go by it.
Okay, I didn't know if you were recording.
You can go, so I said to him, I really think you're making a mistake. Well, he didn't think he was. So I suffered more than you'll ever know at BYU. And I finally graduated from BYU. And so he went on and initiated or invented the Institute of Drywall. Now, I don't know what an institute is. I have a pretty good vocabulary, but in those days, what an Institute of Drywall was, I think it was a place where you went and gave Randy money, and he showed you how to do drywall. Well, he wasn't real successful at that particular adventure. And so my brother, Paul, who now lives in Orem, Utah, Paul was his first and only student. Paul is not, again, one of the brighter stars. Our entire family universe was really a dark hole. It wasn't stars in the sky. So Paul went to the Institute of Drywall to learn his trade. And so Randy taught Paul how to be a drywall guy. Well, Paul made a living in Orem, in Provo, Utah, RPM Drywall. And I guess he was a pretty good businessman, and I guess he was pretty good at drywall. Anyway, Randy began to show, from the beginning of my story here, not real good judgment. A man that didn't want to follow the rules, didn't believe he had to follow the rules, knew he was bipolar, wouldn't take meds. He was too smart for meds. I take a handful of meds every damn day, barrels of meds, because I'm bipolar and I don't want to be in jail. Now you know where my video is going. People who are mentally ill, when we take meds, we start to feel really good, and we start to feel pretty normal. So then we began to deny that we have mental illness, and we quit taking the meds. Then we go to jail. So anyway, the Institute of Drywall didn't do real well. It went under, and Randy decided that he didn't want to work an ordinary job. So he moved his family, he had a wife now and a couple of kids, to Missouri. Now, that's not the center of the world. Nothing really wrong with Missouri. I live in Blue Springs, Missouri. It's a modern state, but not where he was. He built, you couldn't even call it a cabin. It was more of a shack. And he had 7 kids. Well, the shack was not big enough for 7 kids. So he built bunk beds up the wall, like 6 or 7 high for the children. So they all basically, I guess, lived in one room. And he lived there with his wife, Sharon, and his children. Now, again, Randy would write to me or talk to me in some way, maybe we were on the phone, and tell me all about how many, there's no laws in Missouri. He can build whatever he wants. He can build it wherever he wants. Very little code enforcement. Well, that kind of a man that doesn't want to obey the rules, moves someplace where there's no building codes in the outer skirts of being away from the cities, and building a shack with 6 or 7 kids in it and a wife. Now, did the shack have running water? I have a hard time even saying this shit. It did have running water. It was called a stream. A stream. They would go to the stream. Now this is young children. I've had 14 children. I know a little bit about children. I haven't been a great father. I've tried to improve over the years, but I wasn't a stupid father. I never put my children in a shack. I had done some other kinds of antics and stupid decisions, but not like this. So here's this family living in the middle of nowhere in a shack that he created. He was pretty good at drywall, but everything else he touched turned to shit, which is the rest of my story. So I guess the kids had to go out to the stream and get their water, and he did odd jobs, and he had an outhouse. They had no indoor plumbing, and they didn't have a toilet. Now when you have 7, 8, 9 people in a family and no toilet, that's shit. That's a lot of shit. A lot of shit that is, I guess it's just going in the ground in a big hole that he dug. And he wanted it to be fairly modern, so he built an outhouse around the hole, because in the wintertime it was a bitch with no outhouse, just sitting out in the cold weather, taking a crap. His wife didn't think that was a good deal. So he built an outhouse. Well, he told me, now this is with my own ears, I'm not making this shit up. He told me, he says, David, I figured out the family doesn't like to go out in the outhouse when it's cold, when it's wintertime, because the toilet seat out there is so cold. Their ass sticks to the toilet seat. I said, yeah, I could understand why a family would think that is a little uncomfortable. So, he says, I figured it out. I thought, well, God, what'd you do? Build a heater or you know? No, I didn't have to do that. I just had the toilet seat detachable. So when you're done cramping in the outhouse, you bring the toilet seat into the house. Now I have toilet seats in my house, but they're in bathrooms. They're on toilets that have running water, and they have a bidet, and they clean themselves to a certain extent. Well, anyway, in his family, the way he raised his kids, they had to hit the toilet seat, which I guess was hanging on the front door, the inside of the front door, and they would take the toilet seat out to the outhouse, attach the toilet seat, do their business, bring the toilet seat back in, and warm it up for the next person. I don't know. Are you getting a picture of my brother Randy? I don't know. It gets worse. It gets. How could it get worse? I've often wondered myself how it could get worse. Well, anyway, he was married for like 30 years here in the United States, and his wife Sharon finally said, I don't want an outhouse anymore, and I'm not carrying any more damn toilet seats anywhere. And she said, you know, you're to the curb. she divorced his ass. And he was surprised. He's still surprised. I think he's 73 right now, a couple years younger than I am, and he's still surprised. If you see, go on YouTube and look up some of the videos that you'll see there on John Randall Welson, and you'll see he said in his videos all these years, he says, she divorced me after 30 years and I don't know why. Well, you know, I do, and the rest of the family basically does. He's crazy. He acts crazy, he talks crazy, he does stupid shit. Now, he thought he was going to be able to work the rest of his life in drywall. And I told him, and I told him. But anyway, I said, you know, Randy, when you get older in construction, it's a bitch. I worked construction as a glazer in Los Angeles on high-rise buildings, and I was young. You have to stoop and lift and bend over, and, you know, you got to be pretty strong and pretty young. And when you get to be, you know, 48, 50, pretty soon your back hurts, your arms hurt, and your neck hurts, and you can't stand as long, and your body begins to deteriorate. And if you're in construction, you're on the way out. I've had a couple of contractors here, and the ones that have come in that are over 60 years old, I haven't let back in. That they're just not capable anymore. So anyway, he didn't take that piece of advice from me or anyone else. He doesn't take advice. He knows everything. So, he thought he was going to retire on Social Security, and he seldom turned any money in to the Social Security system. He was one that always worked under the table, slept under the table, scammed under the table. His whole life has been under the damn table. Well, his Social Security only came out to, I think, you look at his video, I think he said it's now $850. It used to be $700, but with the COLA, it goes up. So, he couldn't live, he said, in the United States on $800 for Social Security and not being able to work drywall. Now, he's a very talented man. I want to balance this. As much as I can, he's an extremely brilliant artist. He's not anymore because he's crippled in his hands and arthritis and his mentality, like all of us. But he played the keyboard like nobody. I mean, he could hear a song and immediately play it, and never had a lesson in his life, never practiced, etc. But a genius on the keyboard and a genius at composing songs. So he made a little bit of money now and then on the keyboard. He decided that maybe it was a good idea. And again, here's Randy. He thinks this was a good idea. He said, I'm going to go to the Philippines, a third world country, and I'm going to have them send my Social Security money to the Philippines. And for every dollar Social Security sends me, I get 52 pesos. I said, well, Randy, that's about 2 cents a peso. I know. I said, what can you buy in the Philippines with 2 pesos? Oh, you can buy all kinds of things. I'll live like a king. Well, if that was true, I think most of us would have moved to the Philippines and been lined up at immigration. But in his mind, that was a good plan for his life. So he went to the Philippines, and he came back once or twice to the United States. I tried to give him a job. I felt obligated. I felt sorry for him. I had brotherly love, if you want to call it that. I was building Tender Heart Ranch in California, Paso Robles. It was a a large facility that I built from the ground up for handicapped children. And I was in the construction process of it, and he came to visit, and I said, you know, do you want a job? And, oh yeah, I know everything about everything. I said, well, I know you do. I want you to build this patio in front of, wood patio, in front of this outbuilding. Okay. And I said, now, this is the way I'd like you to build it. Oh, no, no, no. I said, what do you mean, no? It's the way I want it. It's my money. I'm giving you an opportunity to earn some extra money. Why are you saying, no, oh, I know better. If you do this, you do that, and you do, and you can't do that. I said to myself, gee, I've hired a lot of contractors over a lifetime, and a couple of them have been assholes, but this one is starting to be the king of assholes. And I said to him, at first, kindly, no. And you don't say no to Randy. Nobody ever says no to Randy. It's his way or the highway. Well, a long story short, again, he took the highway at my request. I said, you know what? I want it a certain way. It's my money. You do it my way, or you go somewhere else and find another job. I'm going to the Philippines. I said, okay, go to the Philippines. Maybe they'll think you're some kind of a god there. He says, they do. I'm an American, and they love Americans, and they worship me. Okay, well, maybe the Philippines will be your heaven. Well, stay tuned. The Philippines became his hell. So he went to the Philippines after he showed me the pictures of the girls in the Philippines. And I was a little bit interested, but it's a foreign country, and I wasn't aware of the beauty of Asian girls. And he showed me these young girls. Well, this is Kiki, Kakai, Boo Boo, hey, hey. I don't know the Filipino names, but I looked at the pictures and they were attractive girls, but they were awful young. And I know that he really liked young girls. Well, everybody has their own standards and whatever, as long as the girl is able to consent and wants to be with you and old enough to make that decision. That's her own business. Well, the situation deteriorated. He went to the Philippines, and we used to be in contact a little bit with the internet. And he was telling me all the antics that he was involved in. And I have a record, you know me, I record all my phone calls, I record everybody, everything, because people will say to me, I didn't say that, I didn't say that, you're lying. And, look, I'm Sir David the Bard, and I invited Randy at least once, maybe twice, to come back to the United States. And then I had a little apartment that I would let him rent cheaply, and put down some ground rules. No underage girls, and no antics, no toilet seats removed from the toilets up to your room, etc. No, no, I'm staying in the Philippines. That's okay. Hey, I'm just trying to be kind. I know you're bipolar. If you come here, I'm going to make sure you see a doctor, that you take regularly your prescribed meds, and that those are going to be the rules. I don't obey rules. I said, okay, well, live your life the way you want to live it. So anyway, he would send videos, and I would sometimes look on YouTube, and he had a YouTube program, and he started to I guess, write little books, and he tried to sell them on YouTube. And his music he tried to sell on YouTube. He wasn't very successful at any of that. Just like the Institute of Drywall, even the Filipino people didn't think he was a bright star in the sky, but they worshipped him because he was an American. And I said, now, Randy, I've been to the Philippines. I married a very lovely Filipino girl, Mercy. I've been married to her 18 years. Best decision I ever made in my life. How are you staying in the Philippines? You have to, under Filipino law, you have to leave the country if you're not a citizen. I think it was back then 5 days every year. And then you could come back. But you had to come back with a visa, and they would let you live there another 360 days. And what about the money that an American has to pay to be in the Philippines, unmarried, to a Filipino, that you're just a tourist? The Philippines has a rule that I had to pay when I was there. I was there a couple, 2 or 3 months, and I had to pay, I think, 5,000 pesos a month just to be legal, to be there. I had an American passport, of course, which gets me to the next point. I said to him, what is your legal status? He said, shit, I don't have to have legal status. These people, they think I'm a god. I said, well, what is your status? I threw my American passport in the Filipino Sea. I said, do you think that was a really good idea? Isn't that a little bit like having $4,000 in cash under your driver's mat in a car? No, I know what I'm doing. Okay. What about a visa? Has the Filipino government allowed you to be there and issued you a proper visa? No, I don't have to have that. I said, well, Randy, isn't it, just correct me if I'm wrong, which I never am, I love to say that. Isn't it true that the Filipino government, police, could pick you up at any time and deport you? Well, no, they don't do that, no. I said, well, you're living a life at risk. You're in a foreign country. You don't speak their language. You don't have their food or their culture. You're not respecting their laws. Yeah, they're a third world country, but that doesn't mean because we're Americans that we can just run over them and not respect their laws and their culture and the way they do things. I can do what I want. Okay, well, there's the Institute of Drywall being built again, so no passport, no visa. Well, he kept connecting with me, and I warned him over and over again. I said, Randy, you can't be with these young girls that are underage. Well, Joseph Smith did. Now see, he's a missionary. There's the Mormon church. There's my father's philosophy that you can molest girls over and over again, but if you repent, it's your first time. You have to look that video up. And I warned him, and I warned him, and I warned him. I said, Randy, it's not legal. It is legal in the Philippines. You can have sex with any girl over 12. I said, 12 is the age of consent? Yes. And I have money. They all want to live with me. Well, now we're in an area where I get upset. If a girl is hungry and you offer her food because she has to survive, but you're going to have sex with her, that is way out of my world, my morals, my way of dealing with other human beings. It wasn't to him. It wasn't to him. There is such poverty in the Philippines. The people are just scared every hour that they're not going to have enough to eat. And these young girls, their fathers would say, well, gee, it's better that I give my 12-year-old up to a 72-year-old man who has money than to have her starve in my own home. What a terrible decision a father and a mother had to make. So if a parent said it's okay for my brother to screw their 12-year-old daughters and 13 and 14-year-old daughters, whatever, that was okay under Filipino law. There's some truth to that historically in the Filipino law. That's changed a lot. The Philippines now are in line with modern countries. You don't have sex with children under 18 in the Philippines. You can get an age of consent of a 16-year-old as long as she's marrying someone that's not more than 4 years older than she is. So you have young people marrying young people. But you can't have a 72-year-old man getting permission to take a 16-year-old girl for a companion anymore. And the Philippines has become modern and moral in that situation. Now, I'm sorry, my phone is going to pick up automatically. I'm sorry. Hello, it's David. Go ahead, please. Hello? They hung up. That's good. I love it when they hang up. Anyway, he continued to go from island to island. Now, the Philippines, you may know, you may not know, I didn't know, has 7,000 islands. 7,000 islands. So you could screw up real bad in one island, but go to another island. Now, I don't know if he used all 6,900 islands. I don't know how many he jumped to, but he jumped from island to island because he would get in trouble in the Philippines. He was driving a motorcycle in the Philippines, and the law is that if you're an American, it's like an international driver's license. 30 days, 60 days, you can drive a motorcycle or a car, if there are cars in the Philippines. But he had none. He had no passport, he had no visa, he had no driver's license. I hate to say it too, but in the Philippines, if you're pulled over by the police and you're an American and you don't have a driver's license, you give them 50 American dollars. That's, what, 2,500 pesos? That's a lot of money to a Filipino policeman, and they just wave you on. So he went through bribing and getting away with shit. Well, he had a girlfriend that lived with him, and he found an American in the States that wanted to marry a Filipino girl. So they concocted, this is like an Alfred Hitchcock, you're all too young to remember or know Alfred Hitchcock, it's the Twilight Zone movie. So my brother Randy promised his girlfriend that he would marry her and take her to America. That's very attractive to a young girl in the Philippines. Well, Randy decided, I guess, that he didn't want to marry her, but he was going to give her to his friend in the United States if the friend gave Randy American money. Here comes the Mormon pyramid, the Mormon schemers, schemers too, I guess. So somehow that fell through. The father of the daughter took Randy's piano and pounded it into pieces, chased him out of the house. Randy has been chased out of many fathers' homes in the Philippines. They are very moral people. They don't just, let their daughters go and screw anybody and Americans. So when Randy pulled his shenanigans, a lot of these fathers threw him out. Well, Randy got another Institute of Drywall idea, and he decided he was going to up his class. He was middle class, I guess, but now he wanted to be lower class. So he went to a squatters camp. Now there's poverty, terrible, terrible poverty in the Philippines. If you go to a squatter's camp, it's worse. It's worse. They are the poorest of the poor Filipino people. But a couple of pesos there can buy you almost anything, because they don't have a couple of pesos. So one of the families let him move in to their lean-to shack, which Randy was an expert in. And Randy used his American money to buy concrete and put ceilings on and a cement bed. And oh man, in a squatter's camp, he was, king. He was pharaoh. He had the best squatters lean-to of anybody in the squatters camp. And all the kids would come over, and Randy would buy them candy and have free meals, and he was the big man in town in the squatters camp. Well, I kept watching his videos, and the Filipino government now has been watching his videos, and I'll tell you why. They were full of young girls, and they were full of, the American word is grooming. Grooming young girls to be his friends, his associates, his kids that came over and was at his house. I was really uncomfortable with that shit, and I am today. I'm very uncomfortable. But it's the Philippine government. He's in the Philippines. It isn't really my business. So I stayed out of it. Well, I happened to see that maybe his life was not going together the way he wanted. He got kicked out of his cement home. That father kicked him out of that home too. And he went back up to Manila area, the capital area of the Philippines. So, I have been in contact now and then with one of his sons. I'm not going to mention the son's name because the son is a decent person, and I don't want him involved with any of this crap. So I asked the son, how's Randy doing? And the son said, well, we went to visit him. I said, great. You kids went to the Philippines and took the family over there? I said, yeah, we did. And I said, how was the visit? And he said, not very good. He said, we flew all the way over there, which I think, I remember, 8 or 9 hour flight. And we had to look him up and go to his place where he lived, which was a dump. We took the kids and his grandchildren, and he spent 45 minutes with us and escorted us out. I said, what happened? He says, I don't know. I don't know. And we flew back to the United States, and we haven't seen him since, and his videos on YouTube have all been taken down. Really? And his website on the internet is taken down. And we're not in contact with him. And I said, well, what's going on? He says, well, I think he's been arrested. I said, you're shitting me. He's been there 21 damn years, and he's now under arrest? And I said to his son, I understand you don't want to be involved. I won't contact you out of respect for your dignity and your respect. If you don't hear from me again, don't be surprised. He'll be surprised because it's on the video now. So, I called the United States Embassy in Manila. I've been there a couple of times because I adopted 2 little girls from the Philippines, and I married my wife, Mercy, from the Philippines, and I let her parents, who are now American citizens, live in my place. I called the U.S. Embassy. And I said, gee, I have this brother, and I gave them some of the information I'm giving you. I said, would you mind checking and seeing? He is an American citizen. He has no passport. He has no visa. He's bipolar and mentally ill. Could you see if he is in a Filipino prison? I waited a week, 2 weeks. I got a call back from the United States Embassy in the Philippines. And he said, yeah, David, I found your brother. Where'd you find him? He's in the Bureau of Immigration prison here in Manila. And I said, well, did you tell him I was willing to try to help in some way, that if he gets deported, maybe I could help him if he came back into the Utah area? Could I, he doesn't want to talk to you. I said, he doesn't want to talk? No, he said, everything is confidential. Go to my confidential tape, look up my confidential tape. And okay, I tried. I tried to be brotherly. I tried to be, I hope, a normal person. Yeah, I'm bipolar. Yeah, I take meds, but I have a damn house. I have a wife of 18 years, and I have a couple of master's degrees. I've tried to be a little bit successful. Well, he doesn't want to talk to you, and we can't tell you anything about him. I said, okay, no problem. So I've never heard from the Filipino government again. So I went back on YouTube and looked up several videos that are on him. And if you're interested, go look, see if I'm lying. So, Bureau of Immigration in the Philippines. Now, the last video I saw on the YouTube, he was being interviewed by a company that went all over the world helping other people adjust to moving and living in foreign countries. How they got Randy, I don't know. But Randy got on this Awake something, look it up, you'll see it. But they interviewed him, and they were innocently interviewing him, and they said, I see you're, how long have you been in the Philippines? And he said, 21 years. And they said, well, do you have, I don't think they asked about his immigration. He says, well, where do you live? Here is the stupidity of my brother, on top of being an idiot, an imbecile, a nincompoop. He says, well, I'm famous. I'm on YouTube now. They're interviewing me. I'm a god. Go on Google Maps. Here's the name of where I live, and you can see my address. I'm saying to myself, gee, you're illegal. You have flaunted the Filipino rules, regulation, and laws for 21 years, and you just gave them your legal address of where they can find you. I don't think he thought that way. He thought, I'm a god. No one's going to touch me. I'm bipolar. I'm so smart. I have extra toilet seats. Anyway, he gave his residential address out, and the interviewer said, well, I see your partner there. Yes. How old is she? Oh, she's 24. He said, well, how old are you? He said, I'm 73. Well, you should see, and you go on YouTube and look at the comments. Look at the people who looked at that comment all over the world in the United States and found that disgusting. She wasn't 12 years old. Randy told me, he said, well, I've slept with sisters. They're in the same bed. 2 young girls who are sisters. And he's having sex with them. That's what he told me. I said, it's wrong. It's not right. Well, Joseph Smith, he had 14-year-old girls, and I can have 12 and 13 and have sisters in the same bed. Well, Joseph Smith married two sisters, I think from Canada, if my memory is right. Anyway, he gave his address out, and this Filipino blogger found Randy to be disgusting and went after Randy. I didn't go after Randy. The Filipino blogger did. And you'll see him. Go on YouTube and look up Randall Welson arrested Philippines. So, the blogger had some connections in the Philippines. I think the blogger is in the United States now. They're Filipino, but they're proud of their culture. And when they see an expatriate, this is a shortcut, expat they call them now, expatriate, in their country, taking advantage, flaunting their laws and making fun of them because they're so poor, and taking advantage of young girls because they're poor and they're hungry. This blogger went after Randy. Well, I'm keeping up with the blogger on YouTube, and finally the blogger comes on and says, guess what? Randall Welson has now been arrested in the Philippines. And I go, Jesus Christ. God damn. My brother now is in a Filipino prison. And it shows. They hold up his arrest warrant. They hold up his violation of immigration. And there's a picture of my brother in a jumpsuit surrounded by two guards going to the Bureau of Immigration in Manila in the Philippines.